Hopefully correct. Oh, Tony, you okay?
Yeah, good, you?
Not a millionaire. Your book sales haven't made you a millionaire yet,
Not yet, no.
Keep going.
I did see saw a big queue outside Waterston's the other day. I thought,
Oh, good.
Tony's doing well.
Hi everybody, okay.
How you doing?
Pop that on there. If we're ready, we'll get started with Fadima.
Morning, Roy.
Sky.
Good morning. I'm okay, thank you.
Good. It's a bit frosty outside. All nice and cozy.
No problem, I'm used to it.
I initially wanted to ask about injuries, updates, and what the team, has anything changed? I know you've got quite a few players out at the moment. Has there been any updates?
No, unfortunately the ones that were out before the game on Wednesday night are still out. I was a bit hasty with Jez. I mean, I was hoping that he would do a week's training with us, Jez Raksaki, that is. Unfortunately, he still has one obstacle to clear, so we haven't seen that much of him so far this week. Just the odd appearance after warm-up and a little bit of passing drill, perhaps. But he's not been able to take part in anything as yet where there's competition and contact. But I'm led to believe that tomorrow he will complete the last part of his rehabilitation programme, and if that goes well, as I'm sure it will, then we'll see him back from next week. But all the others, Joel Ward's deal, Rob Holding is still out, Czech of course is still out. Who else is there?
I think that's it.
Anyone else?
Obviously,
Oh, Michael, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, Michael. I forget about him, he's not that important.
No, that's good to hear. Well, good to hear that you might be back for you feel that soon. In terms of, obviously, it's a busy month with transfers. There's always stuff going around.
Sure.
I wanted to ask if there was anything from Calvin Phillips, suspected, and there was talks about him possibly going to West Ham at the moment now. Where does that leave Palace? Are you open to having a player like him coming here?
Yeah, I can't give any update on the position with regard to any player at the moment, but I do know that Doug Freeman and Steve Parish are working hard to try and bring a couple of players at least into the club. So I'm happy with the efforts that they're making, but I'm afraid I can't give you any updates on anything. And of course, as I said on the last time I was here and asked questions about transfers, I was given a good 3 or 4 names, all of which I thought were very good players, and all of which, of course, would be very welcome at the club. But until such time as there is something concrete to say, I'm better off saying nothing.
Okay. I guess, what would, for you, ideally, come February the 1st, when the transfer window does close, what position would you like to be in with your team?
In what respect? In terms of league play?
In terms of, I guess,
Players.
Would you like to continue?
Well, I mean, I think for a long time, all through this window, certainly, but even in the summer, when I came back, we were discussing certain areas of the field where we thought it would be good if we could get some strengthening to our squad. The loss of Doucouré, if anything, has exacerbated that situation, because he's doing such an important job for us there in the centre of the midfield. So there's no doubt that the central midfield position is something we do need to look at and strengthen, because now Doucouré won't play probably for the rest of this season. And then, of course, there are 1 or 2 other positions as well that we've always liked and thought would be good if we could do something, but it's difficult. I mean, the transfer window at the best of times is very difficult. The January one, as everyone knows, is probably the hardest one of all. So I can only really back Steve Parish, the other investors, and Doug Freeman in the work they're doing, and hope that come the end of the transfer window on the 1st of February, there might be 1 or 2 nice little surprises for me in terms of having a stronger squad to go through the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, I hope so. In regards to the game, I'm going to focus on Palace. Obviously, I know you're disappointed with the result against Everton in the Cup, but turning your focus now onto the league, how much of a challenge do you think Arsenal pose coming up in this game?
Well, they provide a massive challenge. I mean, you're not a title contender unless you're an extremely good team with extremely good players. So we know. I mean, I've never taken a team to Arsenal from Blackburn Rovers through West Brom, through Fulham and through Palace. I've never taken a team to Arsenal thinking we'll win this one. This is an easy one for us. It's always been up against it, really, the underdog, which we still are in this match as well. But I thought there was a lot of aspects to our play on Wednesday night which were very satisfying. I thought we carried out a game plan pretty well, and on another occasion I think we'd have even got a result from that game. But that's past. We will have to wave goodbye to the cup run and really concentrate now on getting some points in the league, and that starts tomorrow. But I do think we take a little bit of positivity from the Wednesday evening game into that game tomorrow with us.
Yeah, just last for me. Palace have conceded 11 goals in the final 15 minutes of the league this season. Second only to Sheffield United, who conceded 16. Do you worry about your team's defensively, especially when it comes to the latter part of that game?
Those statistics always they don't surprise me because I hear them quite often, but I don't know quite how I should put them into some sort of perspective. If it was a fact that I thought the team was running out of steam and that we weren't as fit in the last 15 minutes as we've been, that would really concern me. But I know that's not the case because I have all the data for that. So those goals we're conceding there, the 11 goals you mentioned, you know, they're not coming as a result of something which one could easily put right, making certain we're a little bit fitter going onto the field. Obviously, I'd have to see those 11 goals and in which games and how the goals came about. But I've got to say that goals come at all times in games, and I think these are statistics, quite frankly, that often interest you more than they interest us working, because we just have the game that's just been played so firmly in our mind, and we're aware of how the goals were scored and why they were scored and why they shouldn't have been scored, and whether that's happened in the first minute of the game or the 91st. But we have conceded some unfortunate late ones, there's no doubt about that. But I don't know that it's something that concerns me more in terms of the time when the goals scored than the fact that we've conceded 11 goals. But 11 goals, how many games is that you're talking?
So far this season.
Yeah, 11 in 21. Okay, yeah. Well, unfortunately, you know, we're in the bottom part of the table, not the top part. So we do tend to concede a few more goals than the teams at the top of the table.
Yeah. Well, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Soraya from PLP.
You said after the Everton match you've got players like Franco and Ozo who haven't had a chance to show fully what they can do, and that their chances in the league might still be few and far between.
I do say that, yes.
How are they managing this and their expectations on a daily basis?
Well, they're young, aren't they? I mean, they're young. They have ambitions, a lot of aspirations as well, and they, especially if you come from Brazil like Frankie, you know, you've come here with dreams and thoughts of taking the Premier League by storm. It's not that easy, unfortunately, for players coming in when they're young, and of course he came here with an injury into the bargain, which took 6 or 7 weeks for us to sort out. So I think, and Ozo's come in from our own academy, I think these players have to come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be easy to break into a Premiership side, and we have some good players, and we, you know, especially when we get everybody back from injury and from the AFCON tournament, you know, we have quite a strong, experienced and steady side. But it was good that they got at least that 30 minutes the other night. It enabled me, of course, also to spare 1 or 2 players, and in particular, we decided before the game that Eze wouldn't play more than about 60 minutes. He's only just back from injury himself. And then we decided that the 2 wing-backs who'd done an awful lot of work, we've got a game coming in 2 days' time, we'd take them off, and then we were able to make a couple more changes. But frankly, it didn't actually affect our performances as much as I would have thought. I thought the lads that came on did reasonably well, and in fact we had our best chances in the last 15 minutes of the game. We created 3 really clear-cut chances, contrived to miss them, but we didn't suddenly fall away in terms of our standard of play. And I suppose I can even see something positive in that, because as many as 6 or 7 players who maybe will start the game tomorrow didn't play the last 30 minutes of the game against Everton.
How much has your targets for the end of this campaign changed by being impacted by so many injuries to some of the game-changing players that you have within?
Yeah, I mean, of course, when I came back, it was fresh after a very good finish to last season, where we really had played well. But of course, I was working on the basis that that team would be there in its entirety, and we might even get one or two strengthenings. So we were definitely targeting then a middle of the table, even maybe slightly bigger. But unfortunately, the way things have gone, it's become a bit harder for us. But if we can maybe get a couple of those players to help strengthen our squad that we would really like to have, when people like Michael and Eberechi start playing together, which to be frank they haven't done very often because one was out for 6 months and the other one's been out at 2 spells of 3 months and 1.5 months. When and if we can keep that group together, we'll have to accept that Czech Ducouré, who is an important player, we won't have him probably, we'll have to accept that. But if we can keep that other group together, I think we will start to climb the table, that's for sure. But there's a lot of work to do on the training field and with the players, because at the end of the day it's so easy to say the things I'm saying, but it's all about what you do every Saturday/Sunday for 90-95 minutes on the field of play, and that's where the proof of the pudding will be. But I believe that we've got players who help us climb the table, and then we'll see how high we can get.
When there's a difficult patch for any club, the support from top to bottom is needed to persevere. What's your personal message to the fans as you continue through this second half of the season going forward?
Well, I think the fans are very, what's the right word there? They've been with the club a long time. They've seen the trials and the tribulations. I'm certain they dream one day that there will be no more trials and tribulations, but they're used to helping the team get through these periods of time. And I think we're going to give them a little bit more cheer in the second half of the season. If, as I've said, we get players back and we start playing in the way we know we can play. So we are very dependent upon their help. There's no question of that, both home and away. And I do think that in our case in particular, the name of the fans as the 12th man, or the epithet that the fans are our 12th man, it's very, very relevant in our case. And I know they'll stick with us, and I know they'll be cheering the team on and pushing us forward, but it's up to us to give them something to cheer about. You know, you can't expect them to, out of the blue, produce performances on the field. That's what we've got to produce, and then they'll get behind us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Alex from BBC.
Hi, Roy.
Alex?
You mentioned the importance of Czech Ducouré, and since he's been out, and Chris Richards has come into that area of the pitch. Just wondered what you've made of the job he's done since he's been playing in the position.
Well, I think he's done exceptionally well. I mean, it's not easy for a centre-back who is a centre-back, that is the position where he's made his name and become an international player. I think he's done well to step into that breach and do that job for us, and I'm really, very pleased with him. But there's no doubt that he is and will be probably a centre-back, so if we're going to try and convert him into that position, it's going to take a lot more time than 2 or 3 games. But very happy for him, very pleased with him, and it's good to see him getting regular football now, which, to be fair, during the latter part of last season when I was here, he didn't get any games at all.
It's felt like this season there's been a few discussions about player protection. You mentioned there Eze taking him off as he's just come back from injury, and previously with Michael as well. Just wanting to know, has this been more difficult this season to manage those player minutes?
Yes, it has, because of the severity of the injury. That's been the problem with Michael's case in particular, but also Ebbs' case as well. You know, in particular the first one, and the second one, if anything, has been even trickier, because he actually came back and started to try and play again when the injury wasn't really 100% healed. He was so keen to get back, and if it had been left totally to the medical department to give the green light, they probably might not have done so. But he was so keen to get back, and we were so keen to have him, that we've probably pushed him in. I think it's only now, over the last, in fact, probably that 60 minutes on up at Everton. That's, I think, probably the fittest and most like him I've seen for a while now. And so if we can keep that going, and if Michael's injury isn't too bad and we can get him back, then our team will start looking a bit more like it looked at the end of last season.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks. Any other broadcast questions? Yep, gentleman there. Okay.
What broadcast
PA.
company am I talking to now?
Oh, haters, sorry.
Hayes.
Hi Roy, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Arsenal obviously 3 defeats in a row, no wins in 4.
Oh
How
dear.
important,
Crisis.
how important is it, given the fan atmosphere, it might get a little bit nervy, a little bit expectant of obviously turning that form around. How important is it to start the game well and nullify Arsenal from an early stage?
Yep, it is. There's no question about that. You know, the question is so well formed that you've almost sort of answered it for me. It is important. I don't really go too much into that. You know, I didn't know they'd lost 3 games in a row.
In all comes.
You know, I didn't know that. I mean, I just look at their team and what they've done and what they're capable of doing, and I look at that thinking, right, how are we gonna combat this? How are we going to nullify them, as you rightly say, not just in the first part of the game, we've got to do it through probably 100 minutes. How are we going to do that? What have we got to do? How good have we got to be? Because we know they're good. Why do we know they're good? Well, we watch them play, one, but also they're top of the table. And often teams at the top of the table are better than teams near the bottom of the table. That's a fact of life. There's not much you can do about it. We can't wave a magic wand and swap places with them. But we also believe, personally, when I say we, I personally, and we as a team, I think, believe that we're capable of going there and making life difficult for them, playing a good game. And if we're lucky and we do play that good game, and maybe, as you rightly point out, their form isn't quite what it was a few weeks ago, who knows? You know, the result's there for us to get, and we'll do our best to get it. That's all we can do.
If you start the likes of Barrier, he's obviously a player that you want in the final third. How important could he be at the Emirates tomorrow?
Well, he's a goal scorer. That's the good thing. I mean, we see him as one of our goal scorers. Michael's another. Jordan Ayew's a third. And, you know, we're going to be without Jordan, that's for sure. But it's going to be important to take chances. You know, when you play away from home, we'll have to accept that they are a possession-based team. They're a very good team. They keep the ball well. They probe and look to get into dangerous spaces. The first thing we've got to do is to make certain we don't fall into traps there and let them get through us easily. But then when we get the ball, we've got to do something with it and ask them some questions. And often you do that away from home on the counter-attack. And if you're very lucky, things can happen to you as happened to us at Manchester City. We can survive a lot of pressure. We can't suggest that this is an even game and we are playing toe-to-toe with them, but by staying in the game and defending well and stopping them from scoring lots of goals, maybe if you're very lucky, a couple of chances will come your way, and then can you take them? So that's, unfortunately, it's a bit like teaching your grandmother how to suck eggs, but I mean that unfortunately is the situation, and I can't dress it up in any other way.
Thanks very much.
Okay, that's the end of the broadcast section.